Yo, what up? This is Winston from Parkway Drive, and this is the track by track for our new album, Darker Still. So let's get into it. Track 1, Ground Zero. We wanted to start this album as small as possible into basically the biggest explosion we could kind of have, which is exactly what you kind of get. The softest moment we've ever given you on the record, followed by probably one of the biggest riffs Jeff's ever written. And basically this is probably the most lightest moment on the entire album before the entire thing spirals downwards. But we wrote this song with live epicness in mind, and I'll be really surprised if that is not what eventuates. Track 2, Like Napalm. This thing is an absolute stomper. The idea is basically just to make people bang their heads and stomp the entire way through. This was the song that we wrote where I was like, if I'm not smashing my steering wheel the entire way through this song, then it kind of hasn't achieved its goal. It's kind of just like 100 miles an hour from start to finish, and that's kind of it. That's kind of the best way I could describe it. It's something where we wanted it to be anthemic and crunching, and yeah, goal achieved. Track number 3, Glitch. So this was like the first single that we put out as well. Whenever we put out something as a single, we kind of want it to be a little taster of what you're gonna get, but it's always the tip of the iceberg. This was a really long one to write, but the goal was always to focus on that really heavy rhythmical riff that Jeff came up with, and then lift the chorus up to something which was really dark but really catchy at the same point in time, which is always one of Parkway's biggest goals. But that was kind of it for it. It was, I think the idea for it was like a catchier bottom feeder, which I think it's kind of achieved, to be honest. I think that was the goal, and I think we achieved it. I can't wait to play it live. Track number 4, The Greatest Fear. This is the point in the album when you really start getting the impression that things aren't going to play out exactly what you expected from Parkway. Epic song number 1, The Greatest Fear. This really threw back to the early 90s. This was when Jeff showed me the riff for this. It was like, okay, groove and groove only. Like, it's the song which really locks the vocals and the guitars together and just smashes through with that unrelenting headbang kind of feel, but then takes you into the epicness that kind of starts to unravel through the rest of the record, and that push and pull that we always have between the soft epic dynamic and the absolute brutal destruction, which is probably like the heaviest breakdown we've ever written in the last part of it. So yeah, that's what The Greatest Fear is. The entire song is about death, and that it's actually not as scary as you think. Track 5, Darker Still, the title track for the album. This is the most grand, epic scoped song that we've ever attempted. This was the one that we've always tried to write and never been able to, and we went for it with this record because we had the time. It's essentially a love song about traveling through time over a long period of time. Something that I always come back to, but yeah, it was quite an interesting composition to put together, which involves Molly, an incredible whistler, giving us a wonderful solo at the start. There's a lot of Morricone in the epic Western kind of influence to it, and the entire thing progresses in a way that we wanted just to lift and evolve and continue lifting from this tiny, really organic human feel all the way through to the massive, triumphant moment at the end of the song, and then strip it back down to the humanity at the end, because at the end of the day, that's what the song is about, the connection between two people over a long period of time. And that's Darker Still. It's kind of the center point of the album. Track 6, Imperial Heretic. This was the one we chose to bring you out of the epic 14 minutes that you've got before this, and it's as anthemic as it kind of gets. we wrote this one obviously with a lot of live moments in mind, and it's just kind of an anthem of an anti-establishment anthem, to put it mildly. The album as a whole kind of spirals down and gets more and more dark and dire as it goes, and this is kind of the point of making a statement of the entire way this world functions is pretty fucked, to be honest, but we're going to give you an anthem to sing about it. Yeah, good luck holding your voices in when we play this one live. Track 7, For God Could Bleed. Yeah, we're not ones to shy away from strange sounds. This one's got like some trip hop beats and some of my darker vocal stylings. It's a gnarly song. This one is basically about watching your idols become the people that become complacent, basically. The idea of complacency as a whole being the thing that is your downfall. And I think it's a pretty good metaphor for what we've always embraced as a band, always moving forward, always wanting to keep like our tools sharp, and even if it means, stepping over the people who used to be in front of you. It's a gnarly setup for basically the song that follows as well. Soul Bleach, the pissed off one for this album. This one basically just rages the entire way through. When my dad heard it, he's like, I don't know if people are going to want to just scream kill, 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 kill for an entire song. It's like, have you heard our audiences? I think they might. This song was written about basically being a disappointment in the eyes of people who believed in you, and being fine with that, being fine with being the anti-hero, being fine with owning the fact that someone was out to get you the entire time, and that they can't walk back what they've said to you. I forgive, but I don't forget, and that's what this is encapsulated with. Also, it's got a Star Wars quote right before the breakdown, so yeah. Unz. Let the past die, kill it if you have to. The only good thing that Kylo Ren ever said. Stranger, track 9. This is a weird little curio that we threw in. I've always been a fan of taking someone on a journey on an album, and this was kind of the real breakup of another strange thing which we chose to put in like as a soundscape, which is we found it works really well as a setup. And it was a really small little statement which I created during this whole pandemic of the concept of like isolation, and all of a sudden us being thrown into a world which is so foreign, which we've all lived in, and all of a sudden changes completely, and we're stuck behind these screens, just strangers in a place which we don't recognize. And I found it to be a really little affecting piece of music. So yeah, it made it onto the album. Track 10, Land of the Lost. This is all about that riff, basically. The riff is an absolute monolith. And we built it all around that chanting, keep digging chorus with the riff, and that play off between the mechanical voice that you hear and the concept of us being basically our creations in society, our digital creations and our mechanical creations being the thing which is now taken over the concept of living for us. We created things to make it easier so we can just not live in general, and where that's leading us. And I think that was very apparent during this whole crisis that we went through. And it's pretty bleak, but man, it stomps. Track 11, From the Heart of the Darkness. This is basically the point where the record comes out of its dark journey. The entire record is it's based around the Dark Night of the Soul, which is a really dark journey to be on. And this is probably the most triumphant moment. It's one of the most brutal moments of the entire record as well. But yeah, it ends in quite the the human, it's a combination of the human chanting, the real human element of it, and the battlefield cacophony that we brought in with the orchestral moments as well, through to a genuine moment of human triumph, the fury be my victory at the end, and the idea of looking inside yourself and realizing that it's not what other people see is evil, is not necessarily evil, and it's not necessarily to be feared. It's something that you just have to come to terms with. So that's how we leave the entire record and the entire journey that is Darker Still, with a very, very, very heavy exclamation point.